Okay, so as we move on to the last panel of the day, curbing the rising, I'm really sorry, curbing the rising threat of cybercrimes. We do have on the panel as a moderator, we have our Mr. Sabarinathan Sampath. He is the Chief Strategy Officer at Daily Host News. Mr. Sabri is a very proficient and seasoned senior executive with over 2 decades of experience in delivering large-scale, customized and integrated technology solutions for leading telecoms, hosters, and large enterprises. His expertise includes consulting, launching of cloud service deliveries and delivery platforms to his customers. He's an inspirational leader who works effectively in building new global cross-functional teams focusing on sustainable results with a process-oriented approach. He has held very senior positions in Europe and Southeast Asia in large multinational organizations. Welcome on board, Mr. Sabri. We are really glad to have you.
Thank you, Tara. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Joining Mr. Sabarinathan are our panelists. To start with, we have Md.Mahbubul. He is the head of information security division at Prime Bank Limited. He has been working on PBL's cybersecurity capabilities from 4 different fronts, automating security across all enforcement points, implementing and conceptualizing cyber solutions, ensuring full visibility of organizations' threat posture, and increasing their operational efficiency. Moreover, Rafel is also playing the role of a digital transformation expert, working with the group to design a sustainable digital transformation architecture and identify and implement leading cutting-edge technology and digital solutions. Welcome on board, Mr. Rafel.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Our next panelist is Mr. Ahmed Rokibur Rahman. He is the head of information security and IT governance at NCC Bank. A highly skilled, result-oriented IT profession, Mr. Rahman comes with a versatile experience at system integration, routing and switching, server storage, contact center, and database. He has got a very strong background in service as a service provider with exceptional troubleshooting skills and intense interest in designing and deploying large-scale enterprise composite networks, security technologies, data warehousing solutions, and voice network solutions. Welcome on board, with Mr. Rahman. We are really glad you could make time for it. The final panelist that we have on board is Mr. Ullah. He is the Infrastructure and Network ICT Security and Risk Department, ICT division of. I forgot to mention his designation. He's a Senior Assistant Vice President of the Infra Network and ICT Security and Risk Department of the ICT division at LankaBangla Finance Limited. He's a skilled IT professional with 16 years of experience, specializing in IT security. And he started his career with a nationwide internet service provider in Bangladesh as a network engineer and gradually built a presence in the IT industry as a security expert. Welcome on board, Mr. Ahasan.
Thank you.
Over to you, Mr. Sabri. Let a fruitful discussion begin.
Thank you, Atira, for the intro, and I'm very excited to be here with the rest of you all. I hope you can hear me well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you all. Let me get started quickly because we have to wrap up with a short time frame. So, going back to the conversations about what we're going to talk today is, I can realize that in the past couple of years that data usage has rocketed significantly, with a significant unprecedented demand for streaming services and virtual connectivity, working from home, and things like that. And I understand that the government of Bangladesh's incentives like tax exemptions and capital repatriation and various other initiatives have enabled investment in Bangladesh's IT sector. And a strong resurgence in enterprise-level demand, certainly driven by a lot of financial technology companies and healthcare companies, etc. They have really called for high-end efficiency in data center at the security level. So that's very important to ensure there is the data security there at every level. The rapid adoption of technology has its downsides that it is causing a lot of concern from a cybersecurity perspective. And in this panel discussion, we'll be talking to eminent experts in this industry about how organizations cope up with the rising threat of cyber crimes across the country, and what initiatives they have successfully implemented, which can certainly be adopted elsewhere as well. Right. So let me get started without much further ado. With this advance of technology, a lot of these things like crypto miners, ransomware, botnet, Trojan devices, etc., and cyber threats have increased. And here I'm keen to hear insights. Probably we'll start with Mr. Ahmed to get his insights about what are some of these new cyber threats which are happening there, and how are organizations able to prevent themselves from becoming a victim. Over to you, Mr. Ahmed.
Sabri, I believe, I think Mr. Ahmed is not with us at the moment.
Okay. Please, over to you, Rafel, then. Please go ahead. Yeah, you make a start, please. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. As an information security professional, I am seeing the major shakeup within next 2 or 3 years in cybersecurity structure and architecture, because of the threat landscape is changing, and as well as attack landscape is changing. Why is changing? Because of the adoption of AI and machine learning and the crypto in domain of peer-to-peer payment. So when the peer-to-peer payment stakeholders adopting crypto, they should emphasize on the crypto payment security as well. Because at the end of the day, the actual agenda for threat agent is to gaining money from the SARC region, because data is really available in this part of the world. So data leakage is not the biggest threat at that moment. At that moment, the biggest threat is related to the payment ecosystems. Because the way we are introducing new channels into the payment and the ushering of AI technology with it, it actually changing the landscape of cybersecurity and information security, as well as the data security. I'm separating those domains because those 3 domains are completely different. We need to understand it, and we need to articulate it to the management of CXOs accordingly. And as you have mentioned earlier, the ransomware payment will increase because the cyber attackers are changing their strategy. They are investing a lot to create an artifacts which will be more intelligent than the existing ones. And they're investing in such a case, but we are not responding from customer side or the organizations who are actually using the data of the customers. We have to invest as well, because they are getting more smarter than us. So in 2000 and the social media banking, especially banking through Twitter, banking through WhatsApp, and banking through Facebook, that domain needs special attention from the cybersecurity strategists within very short period of time from this region. Because as a country, we are now introducing different chatbot applications based on the social media platform. We need to understand whether the data is encrypted or not, whether the payment transaction data is encrypted or not. So that would be the biggest concern for next 2 years. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Right. I think the point what you fundamentally emphasized was that technology falling in the wrong hands, and cyber criminals are a little bit ahead of us in a lot of ways, using technology not in the right way but in the wrong way in that sense, right? So I think that's a very important point. And also you mentioned about a lot of impact on the payment side of things. Ransomware kind of attacks are also on the increase with a lot of money at stake as well. So because previously when we used to talk about cybercrime, we used to be talking about predominantly, let's say, an antivirus or a malware or any of those, but now it's a lot more sophisticated in that sense. So well said, Mr. Rafel. I think we'll go on to Mr. Ahasan. Over to you. Happy to hear your thoughts on how organizations can prevent themselves from becoming a victim of some of these.
Okay, thank you for the question. And Rafel Bhai already said few points. As I mentioned, that a lot of new cyber threats are emerging every now and then. And as cybersecurity is a costly affair, my suggestion is that go for the first policy and the procedure. Begin with the first, and the central policy and the procedural guideline can make the organization prevent itself from the becoming a victim of this attack. And it's worth mentioning that it's not that like that the policy and procedure is there. Okay, I am fine, I am free to free from the attack. No, that's not. The implementation of the policy and procedure and the monitoring should be there, and it must be there. And that is that above from the above everything, that we should enlighten our users that above such threats and make them alert so that they can stay safe via regular knowledge transfer session. And if we can summarize the attacks and the attack pattern, then we can see that there are in three kinds of attacks are regular happening in Bangladesh, which is one, business email compromise; two, disinformation and the misinformation attack; and number three is the supply chain attack. And if we consider these three attacks can simply minimize that through the training the people with the best practice of the cybersecurity and the awareness with the good cybersecurity hygiene. And the management of the organization on the board should invest in the cybersecurity as another essential component of their business growth. That's the point.
Very well said, Mr. Ahasan. I think you mentioned about very fundamental aspects around policies and procedures should be very tight. It is not enough if you just have them. They have to be implemented properly. Checks and balances have to be in the system. And you have to have buy-in from the leadership level to be able to make this work, right? So I think very critical aspects with that. I think organization can start looking at protecting itself in some ways. So we've got Mr. Ahmed back online right now. Mr. Ahmed, are you with us now?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Great. Okay, thank you. No problem. Thank you for being with us today. And going back to this same point about this kind of attacks, we have got these phishing attacks, SIM swap attacks, social engineering, keylogger, IP logger, you name it. It's increasing manifold, right? Are you seeing any of these very particularly dominant in the Bangladesh market? Aside to what Mr. Rafel was saying earlier, he was mentioning about payment related. Do you see yourself anything else proliferating a lot more than others?
Well, nothing much. As Mr. Ahasan said, and I heard it's part of what Mr. Rafel said. The thing is that what I will rather talk about, how that government is looking at, how the regulatory body is looking at. It's a challenge right at the moment because fully functional digitized financial system is running, and also we would say that like a lot of data coming in and out and everything. So a lot of threats are incurring different organizations. So in that perspective, I would say that our finance ministry also instructed Bangladesh Bank to push that all the private banks to implement ISO 27000 and also the PCI DSS for the payment card industry. So their role is already in place now, and also that top management of the banks and NBFIs, they are also in very straight line that no compromise. I mean, no compromise on security budget. So where your management is on your plate, and also you're getting a push from your government as well. So things will be running properly, and it is also been running properly so far. And that's what I would say about this. And also I would cover that the other part is that the resource part, the things are coming day by day, new things are coming, right? So the resource is must challenge. So on that aspect, that whoever we are working in the industry leaders, that we need to take up the challenge, and we need to build the these people, like the security related people, and by providing such organizing this sort of panel discussions and stuff, and awareness session and stuff. And internally, I believe that maximum top liner banks are very much open for providing the awareness sessions for their people, and they know that what risk has lies on, and they are acting accordingly. So that's all. I mean, that's what I see basically.
Yeah, I think between the three, I think you covered a pretty wider range of things which organizations can do to prevent themselves from becoming a victim. If we move on to the next point of discussion, I'm keen to get some insights from each one of you about specifically with focus on banking and the financial sector. There's a lot of emphasis on that right now, with money transactions happening quite heavily, and cross-border transactions are also happening, with digital adoption of fintech applications also coming in quite at large, right? And with that, what are the techniques which, for example, which can be adopted for preparing against cyber attacks within this particular sector as such? Is there anything that this sector has to look at something different to others, or is it pretty much the same as others, right? So we will start with Mr. Ahasan, and then we'll go over to Rafel and then to Ahmed after that, please. So Ahasan, over to you, please.
Actually, you are in right track. In Bangladesh, cyber criminals are using the same type of technique which are using in every financial sectors. They are using for the hacking or the same type of attacks. The mostly phishing and the social engineering attacks they are using for the primary vectors, and the secondary, there is a tendency not to patch or update the known vulnerable systems or digital services until it is pressurized from the user perspective. From the user means I mean to say admin users. And we need to understand that the hack value for the financial sector is high. For that reason, we have to consider the cyber ecosystem and plan accordingly. The most important issue is to monitor the output of the security devices which we have planned in our cyber ecosystem, in our server for the surveillance. In technical term, a good SOC can help to monitor your cyber ecosystem for the abnormalities, act, and the response, as well as for the financial sector needs to grow a more open mind and culture for sharing to themselves information about how to mitigate an incident and the nature of the attack and the attack patterns they are watching against their digital assets and so on. Those will help to grow a mutual knowledge for the bank and consequences against the cyber criminals.
Right. I think at that point, the first time I'm hearing, actually, is a very important point you mentioned about banks should be a lot more open about sharing information of such attacks, because others in the community can learn from it. That's a very valid input there. And also you mentioned about having a good SOC and then ensuring the good practices of that. So that's pretty good said. If you go on to Mr. Rafel, happy to hear your thoughts on this. Anything you want to add on financial services, banking sector as such? You're on mute. Yeah.
As I have mentioned earlier about the payment ecosystem security, and you have highlighted the cross-border payment, we need to, before getting into the security, we need to adopt the attacker mindset to understand the attack surface, how attacker can penetrate me, how attacker can make an intuition. This is the most important factor, because otherwise you will not able to safeguard the ecosystem or the data of your valid customer, potential customer. So we need to adopt the attacker mindset at first. Then we need to ensure the defense is consolidated, and we have ensured the defense in depth. And as the zero trust jargon is most popular jargon in now current days, so we have to ensure zero trust for users, zero trust for identity, zero trust for devices, and zero trust for each and every application communication. So you will able to, if you can ensure, you will able to protect the data. And one thing important, Primex is one of the pioneer bank. in cybersecurity domain, because we are one of the local bank who have data leakage prevention platform. There are many of the banks, international banks, multinational banks have that platform, but the local banks are not habituated with that kind of technology. We have EDR, we have fast cognitive SOC in Bangladesh, which is with IBM Curator. So we have invested a lot, though our focus is not in retail. We are corporate bank and it's in our DNA, but we are shifting our strategy. We are thinking about more retail products into the market. So when we are thinking about the more retail products into the market, we are seeing that more threats are coming. Because this is pretty natural, because in retail domain, lots of payment will take place, and lots of third-party vendor like PSO operator or PSP provider will come into your ecosystems. You need to ensure that API handshaking with them, because we are emphasizing on API economy, but what about the API economy security? That's the most important domain is going to be within next 3 years, because what we are communicating through the API channel as an information security architect, we should have the visibility into the traffic. We should have the capability to intercept it, and we should have the capability to inspect it. Otherwise, you can't able to ensure the protection.
Nice, well said, Mr. Rafel. I think you talked about a particular emphasis on zero trust and DLP also. And I think if I summarize this together, having organizations looking at ISO 27001 focus with PCI DSS, with a good SOC, with zero trust implemented, with DLP, with the interception, inspection. If you do all of that, I think there is a very holistic solution. Which
and one thing I have missed. There mindset change is also an important factor. Because the technology operational guy and technology operation guy and security guys should ensure the synergy.
Very much so. I think that the organization, that the teams have to work cohesively. That takes me to the next point, which I'll start off with, Mr. Ahmed. We always talk about people, process, and technology with this rising cyber threats. The demand for technology is increasing in terms of being able to keep up with the pace of how these attackers are shaping up, and also the people element. Experts, etc. All of this is quite rapidly expanding as well. But are we able to sufficiently manage that the skill demand what is needed? Right? Are organizations doing enough at that end? And what is the government doing in this front to help organizations? And are there institutions, or there incentives which are available, which can help skill these people at a much more faster pace to keep up with this demand? We'll start with you, Mr. Ahmed, and then we'll move on to others.
Well, yeah, that is skill management for security domain and cyber security and all stuff. So it is very important because, see, if you don't have that skill resource, then I mean, whatever technology that you put in or you put up, then nothing will matter, right? So, what I see in the industry, if I look at their HR perspective, they're very much open. Like whoever has whoever. Noise is coming. Okay, whoever goes for any certification and all everything, company straight away paid off that total amount of certification. So the management has already has given clear direction. It seems that major clear direction that security related issues, it's go ahead for that. Okay, so the industry is running like this. But yeah, if we look at government has already taken few initiatives. Massively, they're working with under ICT Ministry, LICT projects are there, where they're training people for in technology and security domain as well, and also under IDB, So under IDB, so I mean there is a project as well. I mean, people get subsidized, the trainings and all certification and everything. So I mean, at a whole, if you see that the industry leaders, I mean industry people, industry managements are already they're keen to have a have a like people knowledgeable people, and also from the government perspective, they are also taking initiative to take the country move forward. So that's what I see basically.
Thank you, thank you. Ahsan, do you have a point on to add on anything to what Mr. Ahmed was saying earlier?
No, Rokibur has already said that what is the initiative of the Bangladesh government taken, and for the company perspective, yes, it is a new trend has already been initialized for the companies that if you want to do any certification or the such like as that, company has bearing the cost, and if you can pass in such case, company has given then some cases if you pass such kind of certification, company has given some incentives also. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Rafel, anything you want to add on this, on the getting the skills updated, etc.?
On a skill issue, I would like to add that the cybersecurity professional needs to be hands-on. Rather be theoretical, they needs to be hands-on, because they have to penetrate themselves. They need to understand the tactics, how they will ensure the offensive security practices in their organizations. I would like to thank government, because they have done remarkable progress in that domain. Because Bangladesh government subsidiary wing like BDSAR and Digital Security Agency have been arranging a cyber drill annually, the national cyber drill, where all the university, bank and government organization used to participate. And Prime Bank stand out second position in bank in the bank domains for repetitive 2 years. And it's not about the score which we have made. I would not mind. Yes, I'm become second. I couldn't be fast. But what I have learned, the tactics and the university people, because when I compete with the university students, it's make me energized. Okay, you have to drive and you have to think the new gen people as well. So this is the most important factor to develop skill in cybersecurity domain. And I would like to say the government's initiative regarding threat intelligence. They have built a digital forensic lab. They have built a cyber gym. We have a cyber gym. It's a small country like Bangladesh has a cyber gym where we are educating the people for cyber awareness. So that's really important. And I think government is in the right track. And recently we have invested $1 billion for the storage purpose of threat intelligence. We are sandboxing the data, we are analyzing. So that's really impressive. But I need to have a collaboration. I want to give the emphasis on the collaboration between the SAARC countries, especially the collaboration between India and Bangladesh, because the geopolitical situation, which is changing after Russia invests on Ukraine, more threat will come to the payment ecosystem. So in that case, India and Bangladesh has dependency of on cross-border payment. The banks in Bangladesh and India needs to work together, need to exchange informations, and need to exchange the overall threat to the financial sectors. So that would be a great game changer, an extra layer of security about safeguarding additions to both of the countries.
Understood. Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. Rafel, on those thoughts. hands-on work, more leadership, cyber gym, forensic labs. You talked about all the initiatives of what's going on, what the government is taking as well. So well said there. I'm conscious about time. I know the prayers are going to start very imminently. So let me wrap up now. Any closing thoughts? I would say 30 seconds from each one of you. Are organizations doing enough to curb this rising threat of cyber crimes? Any closing thoughts? We'll start with Mr. Ahmed, 30 seconds, and then we'll go on to the others as well.
We all talk about a lot of things, lot of stuff. I think we have covered sensitivity, but one thing that there is some lacking in the industry is that identify your digital assets. So that is the main challenge. Whatever we do is that whenever any business requirement comes up, like we try to do risk analysis and we try to avoid that part. So this thing needs to be stopped immediately, because if you avoid your digital assets to be counted on your security domain, that will not be working at all. So that's all from my end. What we are saying that consider digital assets carefully.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rafel. Over to you.
Thank you, Sabri, for coordinating the event. And thank you, W Media, for having us. And Atira did a great job, I believe, because as Ramadan is going on in Bangladesh, and the way she has coordinated, hats off to you. And keep arranging that kind of sessions, because this really help us to make more cyber aware. Thank you, Sabri. Thank you, my other panelists as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much
we'll hear
for your
some
kind
last
words.
thoughts from Ahasan, and then we'll wrap up. Yeah. So Ahasan, would you?
My fellow two colleagues has already done. So I have nothing to say except to say that thank you to Mr. Sabri and thank you to Athira. And I have picked one word from the Rafel bhai and the others, that is cybersecurity mindset. And I will add one thing, that is the board, IT people, and the users should be in sync for the cybersecurity. For the
Excellent.
asset, digital asset. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Ahasan. I think to sum it
one
up.
last note. And the
Please.
CTOs of bank industry should acknowledge the fact that CISO is an important role, and it should be an independent role. This mindset need to be carried on.
True.
Very rightly said, Mr. Rafel. Thank you for those wonderful thoughts. Just to wrap it up, to say that the cybersecurity awareness has to be a part of the culture. It has to be a boardroom topic. It has to be a field topic for discussion. There has to be hands-on work, awareness done, incentivization done. It has to be a holistic approach to be able face this threat and overcome that. So on that note, thank you, gentlemen. It was absolutely wonderful talking to you all, and thank you to Athira for coordinating this as well. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone for your kind words. I hope we meet some other time for one of our flagship events in Bangladesh.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for cooling us in the Ramadan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, time to draw curtains on Digital Week South Asia 2022 Bangladesh edition. Before we wrap up, let me remind you that since we also have our Indian audience present in this event, we would like to remind everyone that our events are coming up in Chennai and Bangalore at the set date. Please try to be a part of it, because there is going to be very much interactive sessions, across the event, and with many tech enthusiasts will be coming at one place. For Bangladesh audience, we will be having our W Media's first physical event coming up soon in Bangladesh. Do stay tuned at W Media South Asia's page to get more updates on that. I hope you all enjoyed the session and you had very good key takeaways. We are really sorry that we could not, or the panelists could not attend to every single question that was posted in the group. Please be assured that these questions will be sent to the panelists, and everyone would be getting responses for the questions they asked. That's it from my end. I'm signing off. Big thank you to our speakers, our media partner, everyone. I'll see you all soon in another session of W Media. Take care, stay safe, and be happy. Thank you.
Thank you.